Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is a man that has stood by the people and has continued to campaign against the government of President William Ruto since Raila Amolo Odinga betrayed their agreement as the opposition team and Azimio la Umoja team and decided to work with the government of President William Ruto. Now, Kalonzo Musyoka is in a dilemma after Raila Amolo Odinga lost the AU chairmanship. What is the next move that Kalonzo Musyoka will have to adapt so that he will be able to acquire what he has always been fighting for? The endorsement by former President Uhuru Kenyatta also uh, uh, Jubilee-led party to back former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i for presidency in the year 2027 has added complications to Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's chances as the opposition's sole candidate to take on President William Ruto. Kalonzo and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua have been haggling for Uhuru's support. Kalonzo's situation could be even more complicated further if ODM leader Raila Amolo Odinga decides to declare his interest in seat or draw his support behind anybody else who is not Kalonzo Musyoka. And if that happens, it will be regarded as the greatest betrayal in the history of the politics, of the modern day politics of our republic, because Kalonzo Musyoka has been a loyal soldier to Raila Amolo Odinga for the last 15 years that he has campaigned for Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, many contrary opinions wonder loudly what will happen to the former vice president should Raila Amolo Odinga, whose bid for AU for the African Union Commission chairmanship hit a snag, declare his candidature for the presidency and whip his brigade to his bid. Will the former vice president back down and support him as he has done previously in the past general elections, or will he move to the end? And will Raila remain as the principal of the collapsing Azimio coalition, or something will change? Now, Raila's loss at the AUC has impacted on the political careers of many of his long allies in the country. The loss will definitely fill the fortunes of Kenyan politicians who have carved their political careers by associating with the opposition leader for many decades. It will also be a boon for many. The contrary, the win could have led to Raila spending his final political years at the helm of the continental politics rather than local politics, and thereby forcing his puppets to suffer on their own. However, the loss now gives his cronies a second political lease of life, as he will have to gun for the presidency in the year 2027 to guarantee his continued political relevance in the country and elsewhere. Now, the Kenyan political landscape is strewn with leaders who owe their luminous political positions from closely associating with Raila's activities. The leader who count the former prime minister as their political godfather, including former Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu, Governors James Orengo from Siaya, his Kisumu counterpart Anyang' Nyong'o, ODM Cabinet Secretary his Ali Hassan Joho, Wycliffe Oparanya, John Mbadi, and Opiyo Wandayi. The list is long. Now, for instance, Ngilu is one of Raila's leading long-standing allies in Ukambani since former President Daniel Moi's era, when they were involved in anti-Kanu's tyrannical regime and other activities which propelled her to national limelight, to the point of her becoming one of the historic first woman presidential candidates in the country. Now, Charity Ngilu has been so quiet. The question that Kenyans have been asking about her whereabouts, we can all say that she is behind the curtains strategizing on her way forward. If Kalonzo Musyoka decides that he is going to run for president, now Charity Ngilu is planning also to counter Kalonzo Musyoka and get on the campaign trail with Raila Amolo Odinga as the running mate to Raila Amolo Odinga for the 2027 general election. Now, for instance, Ngilu is one of, I said that. Now, since that time when Raila Amolo Odinga and Ngilu worked together, Raila and Ngilu have become political buddies and stuck together, withered storms together as conjoined twins. The same we always say for Kalonzo Musyoka and Mother Karua. It will be interesting to see how such will pan out in the past, in the post-Raila AUC scenario. Now, earlier, sources indicated that Raila's win at the AUC could have steered Ngilu in seeking to reclaim a Kitui gubernatorial seat. But now, since he hasn't, the NARC party leader is banking on being picked as his running mate in the next general election. An ally of Kalonzo in Ukambani Makueni, Governor Mutula Kilonzo Jr. says his party leader will be in the ballot regardless of the position taken by Raila. This he must for many obvious reasons. The Azimio core principle has attracted a huge following nationally, hence the barrage of recent orchestrated attacks by the top honchos at Kenya Kwanza and the president himself. Now, Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, on the other hand, opines that in an event Raila goes by backing President William Ruto's re-election, both will lose the polls in the hands of emerging new presidential candidate who will enjoy massive support from disgruntled voters. Mutula Jr. opined that the events of last week need reflection as a country. I quote him, "We cannot afford such losses on the international stage. It is a diplomatic goof, whichever way you look at it." The governor told the PD Weekendi when reached out for comment. Now, he says Raila is at crossroads, adding that Azimio is not the same and will not be the same again. The Wiper governor said for the ODM leader to vie for the presidency, he will certainly give the incumbent an edge considering the next election will be highly contentious. The politics being a game of numbers, the event of last year have cumulatively changed the political matrix for Kenya Kwanza Alliance, Mutula Jr. said. Will ODM fill the gap in central Kenya? Is there room to accommodate Raila and his statue in the already crowded alliance? Now, according to him, these questions and many others will definitely have a bearing on the events in the coming days. Once the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission IEBC is in place, Kenya should expect a political move. How Raila navigates between that appears to be a loose alliance in the broad-based government and the quest for ODM to have a presidential candidate is a matter that is of interest to the ensuing political battle. The governor believes and says this, "My firm stand is that apparent split on thought and strategy appears to parents." He said this is evident from the divergent views between that of Siaya Governor James Orengo, Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino, Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, and also, on the other hand, Omabe MP Peter Kaluma, Isuna East counterpart Junet Mohammed, and others. Now, whether his path is deliberate or contrived in the night meetings within the party, the public is waiting for the real Raila Odinga to stand up. The perception that Raila has dined and wined with the king is not sitting well nationally. Hence, the backlash rebuked by Junet on the floor of the House. They will not admit, but the loss has dented Raila Odinga. Another of Kalonzo's allies, Machakos Deputy Governor Francis Mwangangi, says should Raila rejoin his colleagues in Azimio, several factors would be under consideration, including reasons why he did not win in 2022 despite having government support. Should this happen, all the frontrunners would have to sit and discuss extensively. He says, but our support for him will be automatic. You will have to convince us why we should always be supporting him despite having lost in all the 5 occasions. Now, Mwangangi says the former prime minister would also be required to explain himself why he always ends up joining every successive government every time he loses the presidency. Similarly, Mwangangi says Raila should also realize it is high time for him to reciprocate the support he has been receiving from Kalonzo. Mutula Jr. said politics abhors vacuums and Kalonzo was left up to all those who disagree with Kenya Kwanza models of governance. Whichever way this happens, ODM as a national party has a lot of redeeming to do before its core supporters. A political commentator, Martin Olo, says Raila's return to the country's political scene is just but another set of confusion, particularly on Azimio, where functionally he is not coalition's leader. Olo said it is not clear whether Azimio is in the opposition or inside the government. How does that work out? I think there is a whole new arrangement. Baba is necessary on both sides, whether on President Ruto, Kalonzo, or former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's side. He is useful politically. However, for the purpose of Azimio, I think we have seen the last of Azimio. Remember, every time we approach elections in this country, we always have new political formations. So Azimio was for 2022. Do not expect it to last beyond 2025. The commentator, who is versed with dimensions of national politics, said. Although said notably, the country needs to start thinking of new formation and which developing coalitions Raila will be on. He said there is every indication that the president is courting the former prime minister and he wants him for 2027. But he is quick to say there is also every indication that the rest of Kenyans will gather around Kalonzo, Gachagua, Eugene Wamalwa, Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya, and others, and even Fred Matiang'i. But one thing that I'm asking, of all the things that Raila Amolo Odinga would do, is considering to have Charity Kaluki Ngilu for his running mate in the 2027 general election and decide to do away with Kalonzo Musyoka. Knowing that these people come from the same region and they all share some support from the same region, who will that is also a divisive tactic. That means the Kamba bloc won't vote as a bloc for one candidate. If Raila Amolo Odinga decides to not support Kalonzo Musyoka. What is your take? See you in our next video.